I was able to watch the meet, and I tell you, our ladies.
You're on TV a lot.
Oh, our ladies were really good. Now I think we had the best score of any team in the nation so far this year.
They did.
So they were outstanding, and one of the gymnasts afterwards came by and said, "Coach, we beat Georgia for you again." And I said, "Well, y'all beat Georgia almost all the time, but."
Yeah, well, so did you.
Hopefully someday in football we can keep saying we beat them again. But Georgia has been very good in football, and I compliment Kirby for winning the SEC this year.
Yep.
They didn't win the national, so all the national media boys, the only team they talk about is who wins the national.
I know.
But those conference championships are, I think, extremely important and something that can last you the rest of your life, certainly.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Appreciate everybody for listening and calling. It's great when I ask for the numbers from Philip back at Weeby Marketing and say, hey, I got a guy that is interested in being a sponsor, and then the numbers are unbelievable sometimes. I can't believe all the people that are listening to us in different countries. I mean, we have listeners in one country I'd never even heard of. I can't remember what it was, but I'll look it up at some point. All right, today Coach Spurrier will be on, obviously, as he is every Monday, brought to you by Meldon Law. And Robbie Andrew will be on, brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak for Yes, No Way, or Maybe. Look forward to talking to him. Let us get to, now that by the way, Thursday, Mark Schleybaugh from ESPN will be joining us. It'll be fun. And I'm happy that our 3-day winter is over. Nice day today, good day to play golf. I can't, but I may play tomorrow. Let us get to our Royal Blue Starting 5, brought to you by Royal Blue, the best place you can possibly go to get a yacht. Royal Blue, of course, my friend Randy Royal owns that place. And I actually heard from Todd Royal today, or yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And he's going to be in town for the South Carolina game, the Vandy game, which is next Tuesday. So we'll have to go out and get at least one. Maybe two. All right, let's get to our Royal Blues starting 5. And number 1 was Florida-Georgia. It was a pretty good weekend for Florida and to beat up on Georgia in different sports. But the Florida-Georgia game, I was there. Really loved my seat at press row. It was great. And talked to a couple of people over there, Jim, who listens to our radio show all the time. Just really enjoyed kind of getting out. I'm not getting out enough to go to games. I'm tending to be home and say, I can watch 3 games and my feet hurt and blah, blah, blah. I'm 70 years old. But I went and I loved being there and I loved watching this team. The way they played was pretty impressive. To win by 30 was great. I loved that Todd Golden told his team at halftime, win by 40. Let's go win by 40. I'm a big believer in win by 1, which they did, 3 nights before. But to watch this team when they've got it going, and Todd said this after the game, he goes, look, when we have it going and we're shooting well in this building, we're not losing. And they aren't. I mean, the one game they lost to Missouri, they didn't shoot well, and they came out a little flat. They got to come out with energy. I thought Alex Condon's energy was so impressive to me, seeing it in person for the first time this year. And again, don't hate me, hate the fact that I'm old. But yeah, I'd like to go to more games, and I probably will because I treated like I normally am treated, and I love the people at Florida for doing that for me. But anyway, 12 straight over Georgia. I'm sure that when Mike White started getting things going there, and they thought, hey, well, we'll at least break that streak. Well, it hadn't happened so far. It could happen in Stegman. The funny thing is about this team, this Georgia team, is Asa Newell is supposedly a first-round pick. I watched the guy. I was kind of paying attention to him, and Florida he had 0.0 points in the first half. He got a putback in the second half, and then I don't think he scored again until it was getting mine time, which I've seen multiple players do that where they go, hey, look, I'm throwing the ball up. If it goes in, they're going to count as points. Nobody's going to look at my shooting percentage, and they're going to get in. So I still think he only got 8 points, but Florida just totally dominated the game, and that was great to see. It was great to see them do that. They are now number 5 in the net rankings. But, defense becomes offense. And when you do that, and that's what they were doing. And early in that game, it was still, teams are trying to feel each other out. And Florida just said, hey, let's just get a bunch. Like Todd Golden said, they had 20 deflections in the first half. They've never done that before. So it was really cool to watch that game. Anyway, the bottom line is, as you guys know, it's going to get really interesting for Florida coming up because the good thing is they have a bye week. And they need a bye week. Guys are a little tired. They're banged up. This is good that they have one. And then you get 3 of the next 4 games on the road against ranked teams. You have to go to Tennessee on Saturday. You have to go to Auburn on, I think it's Tuesday. No, you play Vanderbilt on Tuesday. Then you go to Auburn the following Saturday. Then you play on Tuesday Mississippi State at Mississippi State. And they're really good if you watch that game this weekend. Anyway, let's get to number 2 on our Royal Blue starting 5, which was the SEC. To me was really interesting this weekend because I was following all these games, and of course the Florida-Georgia game was the least interesting. I was just happy Florida won. But Vanderbilt beats Kentucky with a run at the end. Texas is down 18 to Texas A&M at home, comes back and wins that game. The Auburn-Tennessee game was just a total there's things I would like to call it, but I don't think I can say them on the air. It was a bad game, but one team had to win, so Auburn won by 2, I think it was, and they're undefeated in the league. I was rooting for Tennessee, to be honest with you, but it didn't work out. But it was just an interesting weekend with the SEC. Home teams find a way to do things. South Carolina, again, should have beaten Mississippi State. Mississippi State wins in overtime. Mississippi State wins in overtime with 1 basket because they made a bunch of free throws. The league is really hard, especially when you go on the road. And I think that we're about to find out. The next 4 games for Florida will, if you can get out of it 2-2, that's great. And I know they've only lost 2 games all year by 6 and 1 point, 6 points and 1 point. But if you can get out of that little run they've got coming up here, and you can get rested for it, and somehow win 2 of those games, so that means you would beat Vanderbilt and win 1 of the 3 on the road, I would be happy with that. Now, doesn't mean that's what you want to do. Like I've said before a million times, you lay your base in the non-conference. Everything else is just up and down, but it's not. You're not going to move a whole lot unless you have a total disaster or a total craziness. Like if Florida goes and beats Tennessee on the road after beating them at home, and then goes and beats Auburn on the road and beats Vanderbilt and then beats Mississippi State on the road, let me tell you what, they could be number 1. But that's going to be very difficult. We know that. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is the Super Bowl. We know who is going to be playing. The Eagles and the Chiefs. I wanted the Chiefs to win. I wanted the Commanders, but I'm fine with the Eagles. I like the Eagles. I'm not anti-Eagle. I'm anti-Cowboy, but I'm an anti-Eagle. And that's going to be a dilemma for me because now Shoddy's the head coach of the Cowboys, and I don't know how to feel about that. Okay, so the bottom line is the best 2 teams are in the Super Bowl. We saw this all year, and I know people wanted diss on the Chiefs, and that's fine. Go ahead. I like the Chiefs. I've explained this a million times. Nobody wants to hear it. I'm not a front runner. When Mahomes went there, I said, man, I want to follow him. He's a really good player. Andy Reid, I like Andy Reid a lot. But I'm not doing the chop or anything, and I don't have any Chiefs gear. But that's the team I root for. And it's not a big deal. It's not life or death to me. If they'd lost to the Bills, I would have been okay. My wife was rooting for the Bills, and she was not happy after the game. I said, hey, what a great game. She goes, shut up. Because she wanted the Bills to win. That's the way, hey, you're rooting for laundry, right? But the best two teams are there. The Eagles with 7 rushing touchdowns in that game. Saquon Barkley. Look, if you did the MVP voting at the end of the year, which there's a reason you don't, Saquon Barkley would win it. There's no doubt in my mind. He could very likely will end up with the most yards in the history of the NFL for a full season now, if you count the playoffs. But it's just ridiculous how well. And I heard somebody say this today. Giants fans, don't be mad about this, because if he was playing in New York, he wouldn't have gotten those yards. The reason he's getting them is because they have a great offensive line, and then he is ridiculous when he gets into the second level. Those 2 tackles he broke against the Commanders were unbelievable. But anyway, give props to Howie Roseman, who is the GM of that team and is a Gator. He didn't play, but he was at Florida. I remember I did a big story on him a while back, but I can't remember the details. But anyway, he went to Florida, graduated from Florida, and look at what he did in the off season. Not only with Barkley, but other players that he got. They did a great job, and that's why they're playing for the Super Bowl. Chiefs are a slight favorite in the early spreads that are coming out. I think it was 1.5. By the time the game starts, it could be even, because don't forget, people are gonna go, oh, the Eagles just destroyed the Commanders, so I'm putting money on them. So whatever it ends up, it's going to be very close, and we'll see how it all works out. Let's move along to number 4 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is Florida Gymnastics. It's a long story, and it's a funny story. Actually, I'll tell it one day. But I was somewhere else, so I didn't get to watch it. But my wife did watch it, and she was very happy. And also, Mary Howard took care of my 2 nieces, Lauren and Paige, and their 2 daughters, Lana and Ella. And so they got to go to their first meet, and now they're hooked for life, all of them. And but anyway, it was Florida just put the best score together of the year, killed it on the beam. I can't even watch beam when I'm watching it. Not in person, I can. But when I'm watching on TV, I just go, let's see what else is on. I'll come back, because I'm just so afraid somebody's going to fall or trip or something. But, hey, look, any weekend where you beat Georgia in 2 sports, pretty good. Florida's gymnastics team's really good. They've had some real losses with injuries, DiCello being out and everything, but they are still really good. And Jenny Rollins put together quite a team there. Of course, it was Steve Spurrier leotard night too. We'll talk to him about that when we get him on here in just a little bit. But congrats to the gymnastics teams for winning that home meet. Now they go on the road for a while, and they go to West Virginia, and there's a tri-meet there, and then they go on the road for another meet. So they won't be back till Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is very important. You know why? Start of baseball season, gymnastics will be competing. What could be better? That's what my wife told me anyway. She's trying to figure out which one we want to go to on Valentine's Day, because that's why I married her, because she loves going to sports like that. All right, it's not the only reason I married, just to be clear. Let's get to number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5, which is unbelievable that Florida hired a defensive coordinator, and this is number 5 on my list. I just am underwhelmed. It doesn't mean he's not going to be good, but Vinny Cincinnati, who was at Jacksonville State, his dad coached here for a year. Was that Mullen? I think it was Mullen. But anyway, he was here for a year. He was defensive coordinator at Tennessee for a while. I think he was a defensive coordinator when they gave up the Antonio Callaway play. I think he was a defensive coordinator, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm not overwhelmed, only because there were so many possibilities and there was so much talk about people who could be coming here. And now it appears that Florida's going to have the same staff they had last year, except Austin Armstrong's been replaced by Vinny Cincinnati. Look, Ron Roberts is running the defense. It's pretty clear. There was a lot of talk that he might be out. He's a irascible kind of character, and a lot of people don't like it. And I think that's why Armstrong's gone. But hey, look, you as a coach Billy Napier, you are betting on yourself in so many ways. You're going to stick calling plays. You're going to hire a young defensive coordinator and let Ron Roberts have the defense. We'll see what happens here. You've got a brutal schedule. I've said it before. It's tougher than last year's schedule. We'll just see what happens. But it's going to be interesting. Now, a lot of things could happen still going forward. You never know because you never know when guys are going to get interested in the NFL and all that stuff anyway. But anyway, they have a new defensive co-defensive coordinator who will not be calling plays. I don't think. Anyway, I would have loved if Will Muschamp had come here. And I've heard different theories on why he didn't come here. He didn't want to come back to fans. He didn't want to come back and without being able to run his own defense and call things. And I think that, anyway, I think the number one reason he didn't come here is it didn't feel comfortable to him in a lot of ways. And that's fine. I understand that, Will. Someday I'll talk to you about it, I'm sure. All right, that is our Royal Blue starting five, and we appreciate Royal Blue for being our sponsor of this. And we'll get to all of our other ones, and we got a lot going. Sponsorships are just flowing in, and we appreciate it so much. It's what keeps us going in so many ways, guys. We appreciate all our sponsors so much. I think we're going to have a new one probably next week, hopefully. We'll get that done. All right, let's get back to our show and we'll get Coach Spurrier on here, and then Robbie Andrew will join us on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Here are just a few reasons why doing business with the Royal Blue puts you at the helm of your boating lifestyle. 1, the longer we have your listing, the lower percentage commissions you will pay. 2, survey reimbursement for qualified buyers. 3, detail reimbursement for qualified sellers. 4, on-the-water delivery orientation availability. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. That's the coach, brought to you also by Meldon Law. And first thing I want to talk to you about, Coach, is Brian Schottenheimer getting the head coach job at Dallas. Mm-hmm. They introduced him today, and he came here basically to learn from you, right?
I don't know about that, but he did transfer in here in, 95 or 6?
Yeah, 6, I think, yeah.
Well, he played a little bit, I know, in 96.
Yeah.
In fact, he threw the first touchdown pass of the season.
He did.
Remember that?
Right. Yeah.
We were playing Southwest Louisiana, and we went 2 possessions and had to punt.
Yeah.
And Danny Warfel and those guys, they weren't very sharp. So I said, second team, get in there. And Ike, you stay in there, though. So Shotty went in with the second team and threw Ike a hitch pass, and he dodged about 4 guys and went 50 yards for a touchdown. And I said, okay, now the first team, you guys can go back in. But, I sort of got mad at them. They were messing around a little too much there. But, Shotty was the backup, and played a little bit here and there when we got way ahead.
He came in for one play in the national championship game. I remember that you brought him in and Doug Johnson both in.
Yeah, they got a play or 2 in when we got way ahead. Yeah. But, Shotty has been he's been all around. I think he's been with 5 or 6 NFL teams. I think he stopped off in Georgia a year or 2. So he's had a lot of opportunities, and now he's got a chance to be a head coach.
He's got the big one right now, and it's Dallas, the most expensive franchise in the NFL. It's got the most money.
Could be the biggest head coaching job in the NFL. That's right. The franchise is worth the most, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I think he'll do an excellent job, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Have you ever watched any games he's coordinated and said, "Hey, that's kind of the stuff we ran," or did he just kind of learn the basic tenets of what you were trying to do?
No, he was just watching our philosophy of offense, I guess, a little bit. But he was just a player, trying to learn as he went. And a lot of guys nowadays do that. They want to be coaches, Back in the 80s and 90s, 70s, I didn't want to be a coach, so all of a sudden I didn't have a job. Somebody said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Dang, if I could be a coach, that beats working for a living."
Good, yeah.
So if you're a coach, man, you got a game year-round and preparing for a game year-round. So for guys who love competition, it's the best profession in the world.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, one thing I wanted to ask you about, Coach. There's a lot of things I want to talk to you about because there's a lot going on this weekend. But Friday night, Florida Gymnastics destroyed Georgia. Appreciate that. And it was Steve Spurrier leotard night. So I heard that the genesis of that happened actually here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill.
Yeah, Jen Rowland, there was an article in the Gainesville Sun today about it. She was talking to the company that makes the leotards, and they were out here at the restaurant, and I guess the guy said, "What do you want to call the leotards?" And she said, "Well, let's call it Spurriers." So there was an SP on the sort of left upper hip area of the leotard, and I actually took a picture with the team 2 or 3 weeks ago before the season started. So I was able to watch the meet, and I tell you, our ladies.
You're on TV a lot.
Oh, our ladies were really good now. I think we had the best score of any team in the nation so far this year.
They did.
So they were outstanding. And one of the gymnasts afterwards came by and said, "Coach, we beat Georgia for you again." And I said, "Well, y'all beat Georgia almost all the time, but hopefully,
well, so did you.
Hopefully someday in football we can keep saying we beat them again. But Georgia has been very good in football, and I compliment Kirby for winning the SEC this year.
Yep.
They didn't win the national. So all the national media boys, the only team they talk about is who wins the national.
I know.
But those conference championships are, I think, extremely important and something that can last you the rest of your life, certainly.
Well, and we talked about the O-Dome, you being there on Friday. I was there on Saturday to watch the basketball team, and man, what a butt kicking they gave to Mike White's team. They look, when that team plays like that, they're a Final Four team. That's the bottom line. They're that good, but they've got to play like that all the time. You can't just turn it on and off.
Well, they've been pretty consistent now.
Yeah.
Only 2 losses, so
by 6 and 1.
Close games.
Yeah.
So they, of course, it's like when tournament time rolls around. That's after the regular season and the conference championship, and you go from there. Someone said the other day, if they had not started this college football playoff, Ohio State, you know what they'd be today? They'd be 10-2 again, lost to Michigan again, and maybe go win a bowl game somewhere.
Yeah.
But
they would probably win the Citrus
Yeah,
Bowl.
they would not have won the conference. Oregon won the conference. But when the playoffs started, then they sort of hit their peak, and they're clearly the best team in the country. So that's what playoff football does. If you can get your team to you're the best in the country, then you have a chance to win it all when maybe you didn't win the conference, your own conference.
And that's playoff basketball too, and you know this from the NCAA tournament. When you, like Florida at home has beaten 2 really good teams. I mean, Georgia's good. They just weren't good on Saturday. Obviously, Tennessee's good. They've beaten 2 teams by 30 points at home. When they're at home and they got it going, that's as good a place as you can be. But the NCAA tournament is not at home. It's never.
I think they were up 25 at half,
something
like that. And at halftime, I think one of the coaches or one of the players, or somebody said, "Let's see if we win by 40."
No, it was Ty Golden
set a new little goal.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was, wasn't it?
It was 30.
Oh,
they ended up winning by 30. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that's, you know, I didn't know this until somebody told me this, that Tad Golden said this, that why he leaves his starters in is because the margin of victory matters on net rankings. So if you win by 30, it's better than winning by 10. And so go ahead and win by 30. Go ahead and win by 40 if you can do that. And he believes in crushing the opponent. I will say that. I've heard some great speeches secondhand about that. You know, just saying take their will away and stuff like that. But they got a really good team. They're fun to watch.
They are a good team, and they hustle and play great defense also. And obviously good shooters. So that's a pretty good combination.
Yep. Yeah, Mike White got booed when he came in. I was telling something you earlier. I said you got booed when you came back here in 06, but you know, people were like, you didn't worry about that. You were just.
I had the headset on, so I really didn't hear a lot of noise, and I like the double headset. So a lot of these coaches leave one open. Yeah. But it would take all the noise out when you got two of them, and you could talk to your coach up top and so forth. So I was a double ear phone guy.
Yeah. Well, I would be that way too because I wouldn't want to hear what anybody was saying.
Well,
but
Super Bowl's next week,
and
then we can forget football for a while till spring football practice starts. I saw where we hired a new defensive co-coordinator.
I did, yep.
So
Benny Sinceri, he was his dad coached here for a year, a defensive line coach, I think he was. But you know, I think people were looking for a bigger splash than this, but. We'll see what happens. I mean, look, Ron Roberts is coaching the defense anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. Yeah. That's right. We're our defense played well at the end of the season.
They did.
Played very well.
They did, and I so we'll wait till next week to get your Super Bowl predictions since the Super Bowl is.
I tell you, it's been interesting. Of course, a lot of the nation says Kansas City gets good calls by the refs. They have got some favorable calls, but anyway.
But they're 22 or 23-2, and one of them was a game they didn't even try to win at the end of the season.
That's right.
In the last 2 years. So you can't be that lucky. Are they getting breaks? Yeah, probably, but they can't be that lucky.
They've won 17 what they call one-possession games in a row. 17 in a row. That means 7 points or less they won by. So, and then yesterday, it was interesting, the two games, the team that lost dropped a pass right at the end. The Ravens dropped the one that could have tied it, and then Josh Allen on fourth down got it out somehow, and the guy just didn't catch it. It'd been a nice catch, but he got his hands on it. So sometimes just, I guess, meant to be. I told somebody if we'd have won 17 straight one-possession games, I don't think we'd have lost in about 3 years here. Every time we lost is one possession almost. We had a couple. We were really bad. But anyway.
You wouldn't have lost too many, I'll tell you that much.
That's true.
But, that's I tell you, I have a lot of respect for Andy Reid. That's one reason I like the Chiefs is he is just he knows how to get guys open, man. I think he's as good as anybody at getting guys open. He's got good players, but he gets them open.
He's the winningest coach, Eagle history and Kansas City history, and they're playing each other. So that's a pretty good honor for Andy Reid.
What do you think about when you watch Patrick Mahomes? Because he's unconventional. I mean, some of the throws are, sidearm and everything, but he just knows what is going on in the game all the time.
Yeah, he's a natural competitor and player. I bet he played shortstop in baseball and basketball. I bet he was very good. So he's a natural athlete, and they've got tremendous camaraderie, team attitude on the Kansas City Chiefs. So got to admire what they've done the last 5 years. Yeah. They lost that one to Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl 3 years ago, and that was when his son had that car wreck that sort of messed up the whole thing. Or else they'd be going for 5 in a row instead of 3 in a row right now. But they've won 3 of the last 4.
3 in a row would be pretty impressive.
That'd be something.
And we'll see what Florida basketball can do going on the road to play 3 of the next 4 games against ranked teams on the road. So that's always hard. I know you were great at handling the road because you just didn't try to make it any more important than it was being at home. You're going to be in a hotel either way, right?
We certainly played better at home though.
Yeah.
But again, the road wasn't what got us beat. We just didn't play or coach well enough probably at those times. But obviously, playing at home, there's just a little advantage because all you got to do is look at everybody's records. Will prove
exactly.
that.
And that includes the playoffs. All right, before
Very
we let you go, Coach, let's get to our Campus USA play of the weekend. I had a lot to choose from, especially during this game. But look at this steal, and there goes Elijah Martin for the dunk. And he had a great game. He was an interesting guy to talk to after the game, too. He's just a really good dude. But Florida, obviously, a lot of steals, and you were watching the game, Steve. A lot of steals led to points. Defense leads to offense. And I always tell people, I go, when you look at Florida's points per game in football, a lot of it depends on whether you get turnovers, like in the red zone, or when you run back. You could end up with 40 points a game and didn't have a good offense because your defense was that good and scored points.
Oh, that's very true. Where you take over the ball and so forth. And that Jalen Daniels, Washington Commanders, they lost 3 fumbles, I think, in the first half or third quarter there. And they had to play near perfect to beat Philly. So that Super Bowl is going to be something. Philly and Kansas City. It could be two of the best. Well, the two
I
best
think they're
teams.
the two best
They're
teams.
the two best, no question about it.
Yeah, well, it'll be fun, and we'll look. We'll get your pick next week, okay?
Yep, we'll do it.
All right, we'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after we take this break.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. You know, the kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, 2 UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. So now's the time to do something about it before spring and summer roll around. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today.
I'm asking you to join us at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill for our next private label release. You can add Lugo's Risky Rum to your collection of Spurrier's private label bourbon and rye whiskey on your top shelf of your liquor cabinet. So join about 125 of your friends upstairs at Visor's Rooftop Bar from 6 to 9 on January 30 for this exclusive release, featuring a special menu of delicious Spurrier menu items and the specialty rum cocktails.
Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Always a pleasure to bring on my best friend, Robert A. Andrew. And we've already come up with a title for his book. My middle name is Albert. Yeah, well, I came up with it. I want you to write that book, your memoirs. How about that?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll excite a lot of people.
No, we tell more stories about you than anybody else. So if you just put like clean sheets in there and go get lost, all those stories, that would be a book I would read.
Go Get Lost is the most classic of all time to me.
Yeah. Look, I'll tell this.
You couldn't write that.
I'll tell that story really quickly. Robbie was with this girl. He was very close to her, and she looked into his eyes at was it Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving, yeah.
And said, and he
said,
said,
"What are you
why?
doing?" She goes,
Said, I want to see what color our kids' eyes are going to be. They go home. Next thing you know, she calls him, says, my old boyfriend came back into town. You're out. Just like that. Next day in the paper, the Sun Sentinel, which was his paper, she's a PR person at Pompano Harness Track, and there's a horse there, and the horse's name, they're feeding it cake for its birthday, and the horse's name is Go Get Lost.
Yeah, she's feeding the cake, Go Get Lost cake, smiling all happy while I'm all down in the dumps.
I love that. I love that
Lost.
story. See, I'm telling you, the memoirs would work. You know what else will work as Robbie comes to us on our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line is yes, no, where, maybe. You're succeeding the last one, which was Kevin O'Sullivan, which is really good. He explained why nobody's wearing number 14 this year. He said they wanted to give it a year off because nobody wants to wear Jack's number again. Of course, it is brought to you, yes, no, where, maybe brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. And I hope nobody was throwing cheesesteaks in Gainesville, but they were throwing them apparently in Philly at Chiefs fans. They were throwing like full cheesesteaks at them.
Nice.
What's wrong with those people?
Well, if you could catch it and eat it, that wouldn't be bad.
If you go in there and get a cheesesteak, you can get free fries with your order if you say you listen to the podcast. All right, number one on yes, no, where, or maybe, Robbie, you, like a lot of people, are rooting for the Eagles because you have Chiefs fatigue.
I'm going to go with an emphatic yes on that, Pat. And I really don't like the Eagles either, but I'm tired of Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City winning every game. And, the thing is, they talk about how their offense isn't great this year, but it is because every time they need a score, they get it. They somehow do it. I mean, that to me is a great offense. When you have to score, they always do it. They did it again yesterday, and they're getting on my nerves now. Go Eagles.
Yeah. Well, I'm rooting for the Chiefs. You know that. But,
yeah, I know.
And again, I told somebody the other day, I said, I'm never going to do the Seminole chop. And I want to turn it off when they start chanting it. But when Mahomes got there, I liked him. And I've liked him ever since. But anyway, nobody cares.
Yeah, I definitely get it, Pat. But it's a really good matchup. Two great defenses to me. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yep, it'll be fun. We'll get your prediction next week. You and Spurrier, we're both going to get your picks. All right, number two on yes, no, where, maybe with Robbie Andrew. Florida looked like a Final Four team Saturday. Now, I've chastised people for saying they're a Final Four team because you don't know what the matchups are going to look like, but they looked like a Final Four team yesterday, yes or no?
Yeah, yes, Pat, they did. And when you beat a good SEC team by 30 points like that and look totally overmatched them and dominated them, they look like a Final Four team. But what they really looked like to me, Pat, was a team running away from their performance from the 2 nights before when they looked like an NIT team against South Carolina for much of that game. So I think they looked like a team that was highly motivated to learn from that game and come out and get off to a fast start, and they did it, and they looked great.
Yeah, Elijah Martin.
It's a game-by-game thing, though, Pat. You know that.
It is. Elijah Martin said, look, we have a tendency to start slow. We didn't want to do that again. And I said, well, just don't do that next time you play. How about that? And the next time, and the next time, and the next time, and the next time. But you never know what you're going to face. Last year, Florida got underseeded, and right now it seems like they're going to be maybe overseeded almost. If 18-2, you're going to get a good seed. They're a good team. They're fun to watch. When they play good, they're really good. Yeah.
And they have great chemistry, Pat. I mean, they all play together well. It's really a team effort, and it's fun watching them play most of the time. But then you look back at the Missouri game, how badly they started in that one. Then that South Carolina game, I still don't know how they won that game, and I watched it.
They scored more points than the other team.
Yeah, somehow.
I know. I still don't know either. I'll tell you a story about that one day, that game.
Okay.
Number 3 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe for Robbie Andrew. Pebble Beach this week is the true start of golf season.
Oh, absolutely, yes, Pat. And one reason is Scheffler's back now.
Yep.
So, yeah, now we can start the golf season. And, the earlier tournaments this year, I've watched them. They've been fairly entertaining because they were close. But, I didn't know anybody on the leaderboard last weekend. I'm thinking that, the golf is good. It's close, but I don't know who these guys were. It was unbelievable. So, now golf starts now.
Well, you knew who Harris English was, obviously. He's won 5.
Yeah, he came, but he won on the leaderboard in the third round.
Yeah, I know. So. Yeah. But I've been the same as you, and plus the TGL is not taking anything away from it. It's just that we need to get to big time tournaments, and Pebble Beach to me is a big. That's
the first big one, really.
All right, Robbie, we appreciate your time as always, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Okay, Pat, I'm gonna go get lost.
Okay. Okay, always great to talk to Robbie. We appreciate him. Let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Of course, Hesser and Kipke can be reached at 352-339-9920 for your needs in family law and workers' compensation. We appreciate them. And pretty interesting weekend for Ken, because he's a big Eagles fan and a big Penn State fan. Pretty good weekend. And we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's go to number 1 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and it's what I'm calling the Micah thing. It's been a weird year for Florida basketball. It's certainly been successful, but obviously we know all the other stuff that's going on, and I don't really want to comment on things I don't know about. Other people do, and if they want to say things and they heard and everything. The bottom line is nobody knows what exactly is going on. They were still interviewing people on that deal last week, so don't think that anybody knows what is going on. However, the weird thing is Micah Hanlockton decided they cleared him. They said he decided he was going to play, and it was all set for a big news drop at 8 o'clock. Everybody was ready. But then just before it, I can tell you for sure, probably 10, 15 minutes before, he changed his mind. And I thought it was really interesting to hear what Coach Golden had to say about this. Look, when it became real, he just went, oh, maybe I'm not mentally ready for this. And like he said, you've either got to be all in or not. And if you're not all in, there's no point in trying this. Look, I think Florida could use another big body. I'm not sure they need to do this 12 games left in the regular season. But, yeah, if he could play and he felt comfortable. But the bottom line is it's up to Micah, and that's what Todd was talking to us. It's up to him. He's the only guy who had a bone sticking out of his leg on the floor in Nashville. So he's the only one who knows what is going on and how he feels. Nobody pressure him. I will say this. When I was walking in, I walked in with Micah to the basketball game, and some people were saying, hey, you playing? Because there was a story that came out that he was playing. I think it was somebody jumped the gun or whatever, but and then they had to put out another story that said, no, he's not. Anyway, it was just a weird thing and a weird year, but if he wants to come back, that'll be great. If he doesn't, we'll have him next year, right? I mean, think about that, because I've been thinking about next year because, all the guards are gone. No, it's going to be a team that's going to be dominated by their post players. So they'll get guards out of the portal. Anyway. All right. Let's get to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is Jim Knowles to Penn State. Now, Jim Knowles, of course, was a defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State for a while, kind of made his, reputation there, and then went to Ohio State. Of course, they win the national championship the first year. However, Ohio State offered him a great contract, and they were talking with him during the season, but it didn't work out. And Penn State offered him more, $3.1 million per year for Jim Knowles. Hey, look, he's going to have to deal with 8 new starters at Ohio State, and he didn't feel like maybe they were coming up big enough for him financially. So, hey, coaches leave. The weird thing was Ohio State said, since you're doing this, since you're negotiating with Penn State and you're talking to them, don't come to the celebration Saturday. Or was it Saturday or Sunday? Whatever day it was. He didn't go. But Penn State should be very happy. He's a very good defensive coordinator, and it's a lot of money to pay for it. You better find a way to win games. Maybe he's the difference. Maybe he's the guy who gets Penn State over the hump. All right, let's move to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is the weird story of Ja'Kai Howard, who, if you don't remember, and I don't blame you for not remembering, but remember when Auburn had that fracas on their team plane and they had to turn around and it was just weird, the whole thing. I think they let guys off and then came back. Anyway, he was one of them. Well, during this game, he didn't play very much, and he tweeted some things out at halftime, and then he went in the second game, in the second half, and he came out of the game. He had a turnover, and Bruce Pearl started yelling at him. And he started yelling back, and they sent him to the locker room. Get your tweeting butt out of here. And so, interesting dynamic, and they still won the game. I don't know. Maybe that was the best thing to do. If it was me, I would just tell this guy, look, you're really talented, but you need to take a couple weeks off. No, he's already done that. I think he missed 5 games when he had this fight in the plane, but I don't know. Sometimes you just got to cut guys loose. But at the same time, you also want to save them. Yeah, but maybe it's unsavable. All right, that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's move along to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Weekend. And we had a lot of choices. Obviously, it was a really good weekend for Gator sports. But I'm going with Selena Harris-Miranda, who won her second all-around championship of the year for Florida and is doing a great job. I mean, they are loaded, and Selena is certainly a big part of that. 2 championships already, all-around championships, which, if you don't know, it's all 4 devices. You have to compete in all 4. They got people that might be able to beat her, but they're just limited what they can do because they've had injuries. But it's very good for her, and she is our Adams Rib Company Gator of the Week. We'll move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. I was at Leonardo's on Friday and to get some more gift certificates from Kyle, and we kind of split it up. I pay for some, he pays for some, but we'll make sure we have a good contest. But I ran into John Dar Jr. there, another of our sponsors from Dar Shakow Insurance. And it's funny because when they started talking, they had this whole crew there. And when they started talking about insurance, it was really fascinating what they were talking about, how you insure trucks and everything. But I got a lot of information about the golf courses and why there won't be a golf course on Parker Road that everybody thought for 8 years is going to go up. But it's going to go up in Alachua instead. And I'll tell you the story as we go forward here at some point. But anyway, it was good seeing Johnny. All right. He told me another story, too. I can't tell that story on TV. It was really, and it's not nefarious. Just the guy wants his privacy. The guy who's, anyway, forget it. Forget I said anything. All right, let's move along to our Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Picks. Going to just give you the Wednesday night game, Alabama at Mississippi State. I have no idea who's going to win that game. And we can't get spreads until the day of the game because that's what for some reason basketball does that. You can get the football spread on Florida, Georgia right now, I guarantee you, for football. But you can't get it for basketball. It's weird. But it's just what it is. So Alabama at Mississippi State on Wednesday night. Just give me a winner. George Luttrell, I did send you your gift certificates. I did it Saturday. So I'm sorry, I'm way behind on things, but you'll get those soon. All right. So Alabama, Mississippi State. Also, when I was at Leonardo's, I want to say this, Kyle. I got a Duels, man. It's still the best sandwich in town. I love getting that sandwich. It's a chicken parmesan sandwich. All right. Okay, it's time for our Florida Surf Club Cool Dude of the Weekend. I think this is our last time with Florida Surf Club, and we appreciate them. I want to say that very out loud because they've been a big sponsor for a few months, and it was great having them on board. And so let's get to our Cool Dude of the Weekend. I'm going to go with Elijah Martin, and that's because he scored 17 points in the first half when the game was still competitive. He was unbelievable in that game, and I thought he was not only he scored 17 in the first half. That's all the points he got, but that's all he needed to get. 7 for 11 though for the game shooting. Also 4 assists, 4 steals. That is pretty cool. And I thought he gave the greatest quote after the game when we asked him about what he wanted to do starting off the game. He says, just dominate and have fun. I go, well, I don't think you can dominate and have fun, but actually you can. But the other person's not going to have fun, and that would have been Mike White in Georgia. So that is our Florida Surf Club Cool Dude of the Weekend. Thanks again to the Florida Surf Club. It is time for our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Weekend. And I've got the Sponge of the Weekend, and I don't care what Coach says. Brian Schottenheimer came down here to learn how to be a good coach and to learn about offensive plays and learn about that's why he was put down here. And he played, like Coach said, he threw the first touchdown of that 96 season. But, I mean, he was a sponge when he was here. He was just – that's why he was here, was to learn how to be a good quarterback and how to coach quarterbacks. So he is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Weekend, and you can go to Gallo Car Wash and just have a great time. It is a great place to go, and especially the one on 13th is my favorite, okay? That is, we appreciate them. Let us move along to our Hugh, Cain, Allstate Mayhem moment. The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today. Okay, I could say to Vanderbilt, act like you've been there before. They had been there before. They were just there last week when they stormed the court, when they beat Kentucky. This is Tennessee. That's all they do is storm courts. But, I mean, here's how much they have paid now. $850,000 so far in fines for storming courts. But they've done it over and over again. Hey, luckily Florida gets them here this year, so they won't be storming any courts on the Gators. That is our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment. Let us move along to our BMI TeleMed Achiever of the Weekend. Of course, BMI TeleMed, your weight loss specialist. And I'll tell you, man, I am about to, we'll talk about this in February. We're going to have a challenge on BMI TeleMed. I'm going to lose some more weight. I do need to get back. I did great. And again, they are your medical weight loss specials. And the thing is, I didn't achieve and maintain. So now I'm going to achieve and maintain. I'm going to lose 20 more pounds, and we're going to have a challenge where if anybody else wants to get into it, you can do the same thing. And we're going to send the money to the Florida Victorious. How about that? That'll be a good thing. So we'll do that probably coming up Monday of next week. And we'll start that out. But we appreciate BMI TeleMed for being a sponsor. And our Achiever of the Weekend is, and you're not going to like this, Playoff Pat. Pat Mahomes. Patrick is, hey, look, the guy is just, I mean, if you watch that game, you're like, God, I can't believe he got that pass. And the way he ran the ball, he is definitely our Achiever of the Weekend. And by the way, if you want to get involved in with BMI TeleMed, you get a 10% discount if you mention this podcast. So that's a pretty cool deal. Again, we're talking about Wagovi and I'm blanking on what it is. Shot at my arm. I just, my brain doesn't work all the time. What the hell is it called?
The weight loss stuff?
Yeah. Ozempic. God. I kept thinking of something else. Okay, I'll pick it back up. You want to just pick it up at the beginning of that whole thing, 10%. Okay, and if you, by the way, BMI TeleMed, our friends Charlie and Bob over there are giving a 10% discount if you want to get involved. And I'm going to get, like I said, I'm going to get involved in it again. And again, it's Ozempic and Wegovy, and you know, it's achieve and maintain. And I didn't achieve and maintain. I achieved, and I haven't been able. I've struggled to maintain it. I'm just teetering right in here, you know. But I want to get more. I want to get down to. I got a goal, and you can call them. Yeah, the phone number was up there. Charlie and Bob at BMI TeleMed. We appreciate them, your weight loss specialists. Let's move along to the 12, which is brought to you, as always, by Steve and Christine Wendig. I think what we're going to do with the Boss Heart Realty and Steve and Christine Wendig is we're going to have a softball special segment starting in February. Now, they start February 4th, so we're going to do that. We'll see what we end up doing. I think it's going to be probably something along the lines of just kind of on Mondays hey, here's what happened, here's what's coming up this weekend. But I'll talk to Steve about that and see if we can't do that. The 12 we're going to give you today is not the net rankings, it's the Ken Pomeroy rankings, because both of those are used by the committees who are deciding who is going to be in the tournament, who's going to be seated where. They look at both of them. And I look at Ken Pom, you hear talked about all the time. The coaches are more into Ken Pom than they are net ranking. But I will say this, I found this out the other day, that the reason that Florida sometimes plays some of their guys longer than you would want them to is because this year margin of victory counts on the net ranking. So, yeah, win by 30. That's what he told his team, win by 40. He wants to win by as much as possible. Now, there was a time when Florida basketball was you get up by 15, hold the ball, under a certain coach. Not going to mention names. Anyway, we are where we are right now with that. Let's get to those. I know a lot of you don't subscribe to it or look at it, but I'm going to give it to you. The 12 right now, according to the Ken Pom rankings, brought to you by Steve and Christine Wendig, Boss Heart Realty. Number 1 is Duke, not surprising. They've had a great year so far. Number 2 is Auburn, and again, they won again by 2. Number 3, Houston. I watched that Houston-Kansas game. It was unbelievable. Double overtime, and Kansas blew it so bad, which I did not enjoy. I will tell you that. Iowa State's number 4. Their game, I wanted to watch it, but it was only on the Plus, which was weird because I was, at the arena, so I couldn't pick it up. Anyway, number 5 is your Florida Gators, so that's good. If they're 5 in this, 4 in net ranking, you're set. You got your beachhead set. Now you just got to kind of go through the rest of it, these last 12 games, and see what you can do. 6 is Tennessee. Again, Florida's going to play 2 and 6 on the next 2 Saturdays. So that gives you a good example of how tough it's going to be. Number 7 is Kansas, still with 5 losses. Number 8 is Purdue. Number 9, Alabama. Number 10, Illinois with 6 losses. And number 12, Texas Tech. Number 11, Texas Tech. Number 12, Marquette. And you look at these and you start doing all these bracketology things, but the bottom line is you have no idea everything's going to change and change again. But it's still fun to look at and maybe project what might happen. All right, let us finish up with, as we always do, with our Swamp Games of the Week. And we had a great weekend of watching football, and we appreciate the Swamp Restaurant so much. We need to get out there for another remote because I love going out there. I think Kelsey went and watched the Florida game there on Saturday. All right, Tuesday. This is a game I'm going to watch. Kentucky at Tennessee. That's at 7 o'clock on ESPN. That'll be a great game to watch. Wednesday, Houston at West Virginia. And you may say, they're both ranked. I'm going to watch that game. Look, Houston is hard to watch because they just have this suffocating defense, but you feel like every play is a foul, so they can be hard to watch, but they're really good. And also, you got that day I mentioned earlier, Alabama at Mississippi State, 9 o'clock. It's on ESPN. I'll stay up and watch that game too. I'm really so into basketball right now, but football's almost over. Also, Thursday, I just want to bring this up because I mentioned it earlier. Pebble Beach, you can watch it starting at 3 o'clock on the Golf Channel, and like I asked Robbie, it is to me the unofficial beginning of golf season. And some people will say it's when they come to Florida, but no, Pebble Beach is too good of a tournament. I'm looking forward to watching it. All right, I think we got it all done, didn't we?
Yeah.
Zach, all right. We squeezed it all in, and appreciate all of our guests, Coach Spurrier and Robbie Andrew. Again, on Thursday, Mark Schlabach from ESPN will be joining us. We'll talk to him about his way too early top 25 that he does every year, and talk to him a little bit about golf too. Look forward to it. All right, that's going to do it. Until next time, I am Pat Dooley for another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios, saying I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.